So, my name is Luke Robert Mason, and welcome to the Futurism.com live stream to kick off the URBAN-X Demo Day. Futurism.com is the media partner for URBAN-X today, and as an extended welcome to those of you who are joining remotely on Futurism's live stream, both on Facebook and YouTube, remember that you can follow the conversation on multiple hashtags throughout today. You can follow the conversation on the hashtag #MakeYourCity, hashtag DemoDay04, and hashtag UBX Cohort 04, because quite frankly, you can never have enough hashtags. So ultimately, events like this at URBAN-X provide us with an incredible opportunity to bury the 20th century and begin work on the 21st. So let's begin. And let's begin with my two incredible panelists that I have here today, talking about some of the things that are going to happen at URBAN-X. Now, we're here to talk about the future of the city. We have some incredible startups who are going to showcase what they're doing here at URBAN-X today, and I just wonder, what's really shocked you, what's really surprised you about some of the startups that you've seen? I want to go firstly to you, Miriam Rowe, who is the program director of URBAN-X. I mean, what are some of the incredible ways you've seen these startups innovating?
Yeah, so I think when we think about the selection of our startups, we always think about startups that are going to provide, we're going to be able to learn from. And so in general, I think we have learned from all startups. But we were talking earlier, like some of the things that maybe we have been more surprised by. And one of them relates to ClearRoad, which is a company that helps government agencies automate tolling systems. And eventually, what that speaks about is the fact that in the future we might be tolling our roads and paying per mile that we drive, which I think is a concept that at least I hadn't really thought about that much before. I know, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of discussion around the electrification of transportation, sustainable transportation, and not much thought has been made towards what that means to the roads that these vehicles are on. And right now, the gas tax covers most of the cost of maintaining roads. And so while everybody will benefit from a more sustainable transportation system based on electrified vehicles, that also means like significantly less funding to maintain the roads that the vehicles are on. And so in a lot of ways, we're still waiting for full electrification of the vehicles on the road, but with ClearRoad, it's like the future is showing up now on how to solve the problem of lack of road funding. And what was particularly interesting to learn is that this is already happening. ClearRoad already covers road-based or usage-based tolling in 2 states.
Yeah, I think they literally are processing more miles than any other tolling system currently available, which is super impressive. But to me, that also has to do with this, like, I don't think culturally we're used to this notion of paying per every mile that we ride, I think we think about roads as something that's like just available for us, that we can just use anytime and go anywhere. And this is going to be something that's going to be highly quantified, that we're going to have a very clear sense in the future of what's the cost of every square mile, of every square foot of the road that we step on.
Well, I think there's almost 3 key themes that unite all the startups that we're going to see throughout the course of today, and those themes are transparency and risk and safety, rethinking risk and safety, and also resource efficiency. Yep. I just wonder, for both of you, why you believe those 3 things are so important in building what you would consider the future city.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when people talk about the future of cities, it's often a fetishized sort of how do we make the Jetsons a reality. And that's super interesting, of course, but the reality is that when we talk about future of cities, we're talking about a city, a concept of introducing improvements in quality of life in cities and improvement in the operation of cities, and not necessarily from the top down. Right, and so when you think about where a startup might have impact from the bottom up, it is in finding opportunities to increase efficiency, increase safety, et cetera. And so in a lot of ways, that's the bridge to the future of cities. Again, in Clear Road, it's this bridge to the future electrified transport city is to fix the roads today and the pricing of roads today. And then in another scenario like campsite, the future of cities is this vision of autonomous vehicles who park outside of the city or never park at all. And there's the question of, well, what will happen to parking lots and parking infrastructure? And Campsite has recognized an immediate opportunity to identify underutilized parking lots, reclaim them, and turn them back into paradise, outdoor spaces that people can use and enjoy today. And so this bridge of finding the resource inefficiencies and the need gaps of today to create this bridge to the future is how we think about the future of cities.
Well, Miriam, how do you feel that some of these startups are actually truly transforming what it means to live and be an individual, be a person in a city?
That's a broad question. I don't know. I think going back to some of the topics that we're discussing, when we talk about transparency and quantifying the city around us, there's also Open Data Nation, and what they do is they literally quantify the risk around you. So they have data from open sources that basically gives you an insight into, if I'm in this street, what are the chances that an accident might happen next to me, that this store at the corner might succeed, etc. And so having more transparency on that and being able to use it to everyone's advantage, I think it's something that's really powerful as well.
Now, every city is different. Whether it's here in the West or out in the East, every city is fundamentally different and unique and diverse. And the diversity of a city is truly what makes it special. Now, how have you seen some of these startups embracing what makes cities so special, the diversity of the sorts of people you find in these environments?
Yeah, I think that while every city is different, it's its own unique snowflake. There is a commonality between cities around the problems and the challenges that they face, and the desires that people seek to fulfill in cities. And commonly, people want to feel safe, like they live in a good, comfortable environment where where they're free to live and work in the way that they choose, and without burdens of risks to their safety or to their living environment. And so I think, like with Rent Logic, which allows people to express their needs in the form of hereto complaints about landlords and buildings that are not safe, and Rent Logic is turning that back into actionable insights and a grading system for apartment buildings and units that is already producing behavioral change from the landlord, the insurance, and the banking side that is improving living conditions, starting in New York, and will expand to other cities. And then, again, commonly in cities, people want to find more fun and efficient ways to get around to and from work. And Park and Diamond is introducing, fashionable, comfortable athleisure, as they call it. It's a helmet that's also a hat that's soft and light, and so it enables people to have a choice between whatever the varied options are in their city for transportation. That might mean a city bike or a Ford Go bike, or it might mean a scooter or electrified dockless bike.
So on that note, it looks like our event is kicking off, so please continue to join us on the Futurism.com live stream throughout the course of today's URBAN-X event.
All right, welcome to URBAN-X Demo Day 04. My name is Micah Koch. I am the managing director for Mini, and we are thrilled. We are honored, and we are grateful to have all of you here with us today. On behalf of Mini and the team at URBAN-Us, we are incredibly excited to share with you the 7 teams that we have been working with for the last 5 months who are reimagining city life. But before we do, I just want to give a quick update on some of our alumni companies, many of whom are here today in the audience. Some of you might have met them at our last demo day. I'm incredibly proud to announce today that all 7 of our teams in the last program have gone on to raise their next round of capital. And yeah, absolutely. That really is the true measure of success, I think, for any accelerator program. It's certainly our North Star metric. We take a great deal of pride in that. And also the fact that our portfolio companies are now working with and trying to improve city life in over 100 cities all around the world. So providing solutions for more efficient government, better roads, new mobility solutions, safer construction sites. It's really incredible to see the scale of this program and the growth in such a short period of time. We take pride in preparing our companies to offer their solutions at scale because we think that cities need new thinking to become safer, to become more efficient, to become more transparent, to become more enjoyable. And if you live or if you work in a city, hopefully you can get behind that. And we think that in order to address the challenges that we face today, and certainly the major challenges that we will face tomorrow, we will need courage and determination. We will need guile and grit. We'll need invention and inspiration. And we'll need partnerships between the public and the private sector. And that is really why we created URBAN-X. We know that we need heroes. And we believe that entrepreneurs and designers and engineers and creatives are really the heroes that the 21st century needs the most. We believe in challenging the status quo. We believe that startups really have an unfair competitive advantage in speed, in agility, in the ability to offer new services that really can improve city life. We believe that scalable, repeatable, profitable business models still matter. We believe in science and facts, and we believe in women. Thank you. Thank you. So with that, thank you very much for joining us here in person today. Thank you to all of you joining us on the live stream all around the world. We appreciate your engaged support, your enthusiasm as we celebrate this incredible milestone, and also, most importantly, the start of the next chapter for these teams. This is URBAN-X Cohort 4.
My name is Nikki Chu. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Campsite. Campsite helps companies get outside. So we build both outdoor areas and rent out other people's outdoor space for events and co-working. Being outside really improves people's well-being, and companies can't find good outdoor space to spend time in. The way we solve this problem is by taking over small parking lots that aren't primed for redevelopment. We convert them into urban outdoor spaces that can be used for events and co-working. So we'll take a bare parking lot, plot a bunch of trees, and improve the space, outdoor seating, fire pits, hammocks, tensile tents, murals, heat lamps, sail shades for shade, so that people want to spend time in them. Our model is a hybrid between a WeWork, where we build our own sites, and an Airbnb, where we're leasing or using other people's spaces when they're not using them. What we're trying to do is allow people access to nature and outdoor space on a daily basis. So every couple city blocks, we'll have a campsite where someone can access that during the day. The reason why I got into startup world is to really make an impact on people's lives. And there's something really beautiful about building a product that people love and that really improves their well-being.
So, good morning, everybody. I'm Nikki Chu, the CEO and co-founder of Campsite. Campsite is unlocking outdoor urban space. So we all know that getting outside is good for us. 2 Stanford researchers looked at the therapeutic benefit of walking around a city block compared to walking around a city block that had nature, trees, and greenery. What they found was that the nature really provided the therapeutic benefit that the city block didn't. You get improvements in creativity, productivity, and well-being when you engage with nature. And employee engagement really matters. You almost get a 19% increase in productivity when you're outside engaging with greenery. And so you might wonder why this is so difficult in the city. And there's 3 reasons. The first reason is that good outdoor space is not in the downtown core. It's at least a 45-minute drive away from the city center. The second reason is that public space or good outdoor space is often private. It's not open to the public. And the third reason is that public parks lack the amenities needed to really spend time in them. And so what is Campsite doing? We're taking this parking lot, our prototype location in San Francisco of 3,200 square feet that used to house 7 cars, and we're making it into this awesome space that people want to spend time in. We've basically added trees, shrubs, washrooms, Wi-Fi, electricity, seating, and provided shelter for when it's rainy. This is how people use our space. They come to work, they come to host meetings, they come to socialize and give presentations. We're making it fun and productive to be outside during the day and evening. We're making it fast and easy to book outdoor space by the hour and by the day. We're basically following WeWork's model, where WeWork takes an office building, adds furniture and services to add value. Campsite is taking parking lots, adding furniture and services to get additional value. Your typical surface parking lot makes $4.90 per square foot per year. Campsite makes $33.93 per square foot per year. That's almost a 10x return off the normal traditional model. Our San Francisco prototype has made over $130,000 in less than 12 months. We've hosted over 5,000 people in the space, hosted over 400 event hours, and right now, the most exciting thing is that we get 4 times as many inquiries in the space than we can fill. So the companies that you really love us. They're companies like LinkedIn, PayPal, Zendesk, Strava. They use us for a combination of offsites and co-working. We've grown entirely through word of mouth, and we're excited to build both the membership and corporate offsite part of our business. To give you an example, PayPal used us for a 60-person offsite event, and then on the co-working side, Reside has an office a block away from us. They buy corporate memberships for all 65 of their employees. Our one location will make $227,000 a year. That's $180,000 on the event side and $47,000 on the membership side. So as of today, we have our prototype location in San Francisco, and within the last week, we've signed a new location in San Francisco that I'm pleased to announce. We've got 24 more parking lots in the pipeline and over 3,000 parking lots on the West Coast. We believe this is a $2.5 billion opportunity if we're in 100 cities. In the next 18 months, we'll grow to 6 locations and make $1 million in annual recurring revenue. Our goal in the next 5 years is to get to $120 million in ARR. Dennis and I are uniquely suited to build this business. Dennis has an engineering and architecture background. He's graduated from Stanford and from Brown. I have a residential and investment banking background. I used to be an outdoor guide and a wilderness first responder, and I've graduated from the University of British Columbia, Western Ontario, and Harvard. Together, we're building Campsite, and we're turning parking lots back into paradise. Thank you.
My name's Yale Fox. I'm the CEO and founder at RentLogic. We're trying to use technology to improve the quality of housing for urbanized cities. The idea for RentLogic came when I first moved to New York City, and I ended up in a building that was just full of problems. There was mold, and I ended up getting sick. And I just thought it would be a lot easier if I could figure this out before I actually signed a lease. Right now, we've algorithmically generated letter grades for every building in New York City. There's 1.1 million residential buildings. The initial ratings are algorithmically generated, multiple years, sometimes decades worth of inspections that have been happening from the city. We're just taking that information and reinterpreting it. A building can have an A, it doesn't mean a mouse isn't going to run by sometime. It means that when problems occur, they're fixed as quickly as reasonably possible. For B and C graded buildings, never in a million years would I have thought that a landlord would want to be a B or a C, but we have people posting Bs and Cs. They come with different trade-offs. They're cheaper, and they actually like it because it manages the expectations of renters that are coming in. At a macro level, this should improve the quality of housing stock as a whole, the same way that it worked with restaurants. A restaurant doesn't want to get a B because people won't want to eat there. They'll walk down the street to go to an A. The same kind of logic applies to housing. We want a city that's full of A's. Hi, I'm Yale, the CEO and founder of RentLogic. And what we do is grade apartment buildings from A through F based on health and safety standards. Pretty much everybody understands, pretty much everybody cares about the quality of a building. So renters use us to find a place that's clean and safe to live. Landlords use us to show that their product is better than competitors. Banks and insurance companies are using us to understand who they're lending to in underwriting. And last but not least, cities are using us to better understand their housing stock and enforce maintenance code. So about 80% of millennials that live in big cities rent and spend more than 50% of their paychecks on it. We use rating systems to advise a number of different decisions. For restaurants, we have Zagat. For cars, we have Carfax. But for apartments, our single biggest expense, we actually have nothing. And within an apartment, by the time you've moved in and there's problems that are happening, it's already too late. And it's expensive, time-consuming, and frustrating. So currently, people use sites like Yelp and other online review sites to look up information about a building in advance. But Yelp doesn't really work well for housing. And that's because, while you can eat at many different restaurants every month, you can really only sign a lease every 1 or 2 years. On top of that, because housing is so emotional and personal, it skews these sites negatively and turns them into gripe sites. And last but not least, the information on them is 100% subjective. So cities have been inspecting buildings to learn more about mold, bed bugs, heat and hot water problems, and other kinds of structural issues for years because it affects people that live there. That information has lived on city agency websites that look kind of like this monstrosity that you see on the screen right here. We get access to all this information, and we convert it into what becomes essentially a credit report for a building. So all the information that we use is 100% objective, and we combine that with on-site physical building inspections that we conduct with third-party property appraisers and engineers. This information combines to develop a letter grade rating for a building. And at the same time, every inspection makes our algorithms smarter and more accurate. Every website in New York already has a letter grade rating, and you can see this history that goes back at least 5 years. And because we're technically a standards organization, fairness and credibility are key. So we hired Cathy O'Neill, world-famous author of Weapons of Math Destruction, to actually go through every line of code in our algorithms and put a stamp of approval on the end that says this is a fair algorithm, bias has been minimized, and they're measuring, and the code faithfully represents what they say it represents. On top of that, we put together a standards review committee with representatives from the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. So we have the mayor, public advocate, and comptroller's offices that participate, along with renters, landlords, banks, insurance companies, and more. Basically, anybody who cares about housing has a say in how our algorithms work. The business model works similar to LEED, except we charge 20 cents per unit per month. So this is $250 per year for the smallest building and $5,000 for the largest. Current customers include Blackstone, which is the largest landlord in the world, Phipps Houses, which is the largest nonprofit landlord in the world. We also do a lot of work in the affordable space, and DSA Property Group, which is a family-owned shop. We have a 100% renewal rate, and we're expecting 5x growth in just the next 3 months. So these signs go up on buildings, and you can walk past them and scan your phone to them and see a building health report card, and if there's any listings available. If there's a listing, you can push a button and connect with either the landlord or the broker or with the leasing office, depending on what their business model is. And it's important to note that every sign is an ad for the building, but also an ad for RentLogic. So other companies have had to spend millions of dollars on advertising. We've never spent anything. We just had our brand awareness measured, and currently 1 in 4 New Yorkers already uses RentLogic before they sign a lease. And for the ones that hadn't heard about us, 90% said they'd use us next time. If you pretend for a minute that we're a signage company, which we're not, then it's at least a $75 billion market between the US, Canada, and Europe. Just in New York, with weak market penetration, we'll hit 65 million ARR by 2022. So to get an idea of the value that this company can generate, bolt on 25 to 50 cities from around the world. Of the million buildings in New York, there's 100,000 that have more than 250 units. This is important because these buildings all have marketing budgets. They have more people that are coming through them, and it's more eyeballs and more exposure. 15,000 of those are luxury buildings that most people know are pretty good to begin with. But for the other 85,000 that are not, we offer them a way to differentiate themselves in a marketplace with basically no real comparisons. Landlords that we work with have described this as the cheapest possible way to upgrade your building in New York City. Right now, we get about 50,000 building lookups per month on our website. We actually don't want any traffic on our site. Just like you don't go to LEED to find a LEED certified building, you look on other sites and look for their certification. So we've been rolling out our API, and our grades are starting to pop up on brokerages, co-living sites, roommate finding sites, real estate investment platforms, and more. We have 30 partners that we're currently deploying with, and based on leveraging each other's traffic, it's a perfectly mutually beneficial relationship, and we'll get closer to 2 million building lookups per month by 2019. The data that you need to scale exists in every market across the US, and we've already wrote the pipelines to ingest and analyze them, and most of the data has already been cleaned and standardized, so the cost of adding a new city is minimal. Team's led by myself. I'm a TED Fellow and a Kairos Fellow, and the rest of the core team has over 40 years of experience building apps, 50 years of data analytics, hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate transactions, and 10 years of impact. So here's a chance to be part of a business that's not only for-profit and lucratively profitable, but has strong social implications. And before we go, I want everyone to just take out their phones and go to rentlogic.com and look up their building rating. Thank you.
I'm Paul Salama. I'm the Chief Evangelist at ClearRoad. At ClearRoad, we're revolutionizing road usage pricing. ClearRoad is building a new type of tolling technology that doesn't require new infrastructure. We have enough GPS devices now, whether that's built into the car themselves or it's the smartphones in people's pockets, and we use that GPS data to do a new type of tolling based on the usage of the road. You're traveling 10 miles, you are charged then 20 cents or something. If you wanted to implement congestion pricing per se, you would have to install physical infrastructure. You can do away with that with ClearRoad. You can just rely on the technologies embedded in the vehicles themselves, and we handle everything like a financial transaction. There's a $100 billion deficit in the funds to maintain our roads. So ClearRoad attempts to solve this with road usage pricing, which we can implement simply and easily on behalf of governments. Right now, our customers are states. We're working in Oregon and Washington. We see this as just an enormous market. We're going to talk about replacing gas taxes and tolling and parking and freight fees and how do we manage autonomous vehicles and congestion pricing. Each of these are hundreds of billions of dollars of opportunity. Road usage pricing is not a new concept. It's a quite old concept, but it's always, the technology to implement it has always been just over the horizon. But now we're at that moment.
Thanks, Paul, for this introduction. My name is Fred. I'm CEO at ClearRoad. So I'm going to start by asking you a question. What is the daily activity you hate the most? If you were like most Americans, commuting is the worst part of your day. I mean, come on. Roads are terrible. Traffic is awful. The reason of that problem is that we have not spent enough in our infrastructure to the tune of $1 trillion. The way we pay for our roads today is through a tax on each gallon of fuel purchased at the pump. The gas tax was very efficient in the past when vehicles were inefficient, But today we are missing $100 billion of revenue every year. And with electric cars and hybrids, it's only going to get worse. Tolling is not the solution, unfortunately. It's too expensive. Between installation and operation, tolling system eat up 40% of the revenue. This is why, only 2% of highways in the United States are tolled. But there is a better solution. Clear Roads enables a new type of tolling that's called micro-tolling, charging a very small fee for every mile you drive. Our technology is 10 times cheaper than anything currently available and works on every road. Our secret is that we are not collecting new data. We are aggregating massive amount of data already being generated. It's the OnStar system in your car, the fleet management system from companies like Uber or UPS, or just the smartphone on your dashboard. What I'm describing here is not science fiction. Clear Road already operates on more miles of highway than the entire tolling industry. We cover 2 states, Oregon and Washington, where drivers pay by mile instead of paying the gas tax. To make that possible, we have built a platform that can securely process billions of micro-tolling transactions. What we do is very simple. We aggregate different vehicle data sources and convert it into financial transactions, so government can charge for the usage of the road. Think of us like Square. Businesses trust Square to handle credit card transactions. Government trusts Clear Road to handle micro-tolling transactions. Actually, some of the largest and more forward-thinking tolling companies in the world have partnered with us to keep up with this new paradigm. And we are also adding a growing numbers of data providers, including SiriusXM, that are looking for new ways to monetize their data. We have actually the same revenue model than Square. We charge a single-digit transaction fee, a tenth of the cost of EasyPass, which is actually so expensive. This is only possible thanks to an amazing team with background in tolling, finance, and government policies. We kickstarted micro-tolling in the US, and in a previous venture, we created a very successful tolling company operating on the entire highway system in France and serving more than 1 million users. So we're starting on the West Coast, where we see an opportunity of $7 billion. As you know, there's not so many tolls on the West Coast. But what we're really looking at is the $200 billion market in the US alone, because our micro-tolling technology can not only replace or complement the gas tax, but in reality, it can be applied to any type of usage: trucks, scooters, autonomous vehicles. I mean, if 1 year from now we all on scooters, we need the roads to be adapted to this new way of moving into cities. We are the only one who has built a platform specifically dedicated for micro-tolling. We have a successful rate of 2 out of 3 projects, and we are not tied to any specific hardware or legacy system, so we are uniquely positioned to play a central financial role, processing billions of micro-tolling transactions for government. We need road, right? Clear Road will make sure we can pay for them. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Rafi Holzer, CEO of Avvir, and we're ensuring that the buildings that are actually built are the buildings that were planned in the first place. Construction is incredibly complex, and nobody has an accurate picture in real time of what's actually going on in the construction site. Small mistakes in construction can become massive problems if they're not caught in time. 10% of all construction spending is spent on waste due to rework. That is, mistakes that aren't caught in time cost globally about $1 trillion a year. People have tried to solve this problem before, but the issue is that laser scanning and actually interpreting that scan information has been incredibly expensive, manual, and laborious to do up until very recently. We scan construction sites, we compare the scans to building plans, And by doing so, we enable stakeholders to track progress of construction on a really granular level and keep the building plans up to date so that when they hand over building information to the building owner, it's an accurate reflection of what was built as opposed to just what was written down on a piece of paper. There's a ton going on in the construction process. It's hard to get information out of because it is this physical thing. If we can digitize every aspect of it, then you can search it, query it, and know at any given time what has been built, when it was built, and that enables you to manage the processes much better than you could before. We want to enable people to take the pulse of a construction site at any time and really know what's happening. Thank you very much, me. I'm Rafi Holzer, CEO of Avvir, and we are automating construction monitoring to solve some of the largest problems in the construction industry today. The first problem is rework. It's estimated that 10% of all construction costs are spent on fixing problems that were caught too late. That amounts to $1 trillion every year. The next problem we're solving are inaccurate as-builts. If you're a facility manager and you have a leak in your building, the first thing that you're going to do is refer to your plans to find out where the nearest shutoff valve is. But if your construction manager hasn't given you an accurate set of plans, you're going to spend hours looking for that valve instead of minutes. Problems just like that cost owners $800 billion every single year. The way we solve that problem is by providing our clients a digital twin, an accurate replica of the construction site or building so that general contractors can find mistakes immediately, all stakeholders can monitor progress, and ultimately, building owners have an accurate replica that they can work with to manage their buildings effectively. The way we do this is by comparing laser scans that we take of construction sites on a regular basis to 3D models. So effectively, we are comparing the reality as measured by these laser scans to the design intent as represented by the 3D model. And our computer vision algorithms can compare these two data sets and identify discrepancies between them. Those discrepancies reflect either problems in construction errors or delays. What's most unique about our algorithm is not only can it identify these errors, but can actually measure the dimensions of those errors. So for example, if you have a column that is a couple of inches out of place, you can actually push changes from the site back into the model with the click of a button. We're currently working with companies like Facebook and the New York Economic Development Corporation. We have over $8 million in LOIs signed, and we have a pipeline that represents $40 million in business over the next 2 years. Right now, we're a SaaS company, and so we're charging a monthly fee to our customers over the course of construction. That fee is determined based on the size of the project and how valuable it is. A typical project yields about $3,000 a month, and we're getting close to about 90% gross operating margins. Because we are currently, right now we are only targeting, we're only making money during the construction process, but our long-term goal is to actually charge and monetize those as-builts that we create over the course of the building life cycle. And for that reason, our target customer is not a typical New York City real estate developer who intends to flip their building right after building it. It's owners of critical assets, like Facebook, for example. We're working on their data centers. And their vision, as well as ours, is that we use the 3D model that we've created to enable the asset management of the future. Once you have this connected building with sensors in it, you can use your 3D digital twin to visualize everything about your building and better manage it from everything from your thermostats or your server racks. The market for each of these opportunities is massive. So just the construction monitoring market is a $12 billion opportunity. And once we move into the visualization for asset management, we're talking about a $15 billion opportunity. Where things get truly enormous, though, is once we can actually start digitizing existing assets instead of newly built ones. We're looking at a 10x on those opportunities and a $120 billion total. Because the market is as massive as it is, and because it's as fragmented as it is, with thousands of large general contractors, hundreds of thousands of building owners, what we've done to go to market is actually go a step up in the money chain, essentially, and target construction lenders. Construction lenders are interested in the progress information that we can generate, and in exchange for that information, they can incentivize and do mandate our software on projects they're lending on. We're already working with 3 of the largest construction lenders in the country. And what's nice about construction lenders is that there's a relative concentration of them, with 10 construction lenders controlling 42% of the market in the United States. Not only is this an amazing go-to-market strategy, it also creates a defensible moat for us. Because once written into a construction loan contract, it's very difficult to be written out. And speaking of our competition, one of the reasons we've been so successful, or I'd say the reason we've been so successful thus far, is because we are highly differentiated from our competitors. Like I mentioned before, we're the only company that's currently able to actually push changes from reality back into the building model. And because we are hardware agnostic, meaning we can use any laser scanner out there, we can take on more use cases than our competitors can. And so to date, in every single head-to-head sales competition we've had, we've won. Our team is comprised of experts in agile software development, civil engineering, computer vision, and product management. And we're looking for the right partner to help us unlock the $40 million in pipeline that we have right now. So come check us out at our booth a little bit later. Thank you very much.
My name is Sam Parks. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Sapien Industries. We're building a solution to address the problem of waste that normally goes unknown and untouched in everyday human lives. The macro level problem is that we've all accepted that the little negligible contributions to waste in our buildings are okay. And so that's resulted in almost 2/3 of the energy that we consume in our buildings going completely untouched and unregulated. And so that results in nearly half of the energy that we consume being waste. We solved that problem. We've taken 2 standard tools, smart outlets and energy management systems, and put them together to solve a solution that really has been plaguing a huge industry that no one's really been aware of, because the solutions to both individual problems have been around for a long time. So it just took someone putting them together. You could be leaving the room and unplugging everything that you were using until you come back and need to plug everything back in, but it's totally impractical. We're able to detect that, sense that that's occurring, and then automate that actually. We focus on the kind of larger real estate development firms, construction companies. Some of our biggest customers have portfolios of 13,000 buildings, and they're looking for one specific solution that will translate to a huge impact that they can then forward to the rest of their portfolio. When you can provide them with information like where people are and what's being consumed and when, suddenly you're looking at almost a quarter of the energy that's needed to run a building being eliminated.
Hello everybody, I'm the co-founder and CEO at Sapien Industries, and we have built a solution to reduce your operating expenses by managing plug load using machine learning. Over the last 3 months, we've established strategic partnerships with some of the largest real estate owners and managers in the nation. In 2017 alone, they spent $891 million on waste. That's wasted energy sent to their outlets in their buildings, and that's wasted money spent on equipment they didn't need and office space they weren't using. Now, they could have solved this problem, but it would have cost them 4 times the amount of savings that that solution would cost. And it would involve the installation of 6 independent systems in order to accomplish that. Or they could have plugged this in. This is a smart outlet. The Sapient system is one system for all of that savings. It's a building-wide deployment of smart outlets and smart power strips capable of managing and controlling the delivery of energy to every single device and every single socket in an entire building. In doing so, we can address all $891 million of waste with a single system. We're able to do that because when you install metering and control systems for every socket of an entire building, you begin to understand how that space is used by the people that live and work inside it, and how the resources that you're paying for are either being used or not used. And that's because everything in your building consumes electricity. And so by metering that electricity and controlling the delivery of it at every socket, we can accomplish what normally takes 6 independent systems. We can determine the space that isn't being used or should be used more in your building. We can determine the equipment that you're either paying too much for and you don't know about it, or the equipment that you're not using enough but still paying for. Had we been installed in our partners' buildings in 2017, we would have saved them $390 million on plug load alone. We would have saved them $240 million on unused equipment, and we would have saved them $360 million on space they were paying for that they didn't need. Now you may be saying, surely this is a complicated installation process. You're capable of achieving what normally takes 6 independent systems. I'm happy to say that's not the case. You set up your building on our web application, scan the backs of these smart outlets and power strips with our mobile app, and then plug them in. We're also easy to pay for. Rather than having to budget years out for large capital expenditures for the systems that I mentioned earlier, we operate a hardware as a service model. We start with a setup fee, followed by an annual service subscription fee. Both scale with square footage. In July of this year, we started with a few hundred buildings for planned installations. I stand before you here today with 30,000 buildings scheduled for installation by the end of 2020. And by July of next year, we will be installed in enough of those buildings to generate $1.9 million in savings for those customers from plug load alone. Our competitors mostly sell smart outlets one-off B2C. These are the smart outlets that you see plugged in by a bedside table to control a lamp with your smartphone. We are the only unified web application capable of deployments in the tens of thousands of independently controlled metering smart outlets for a single building. The team responsible for creating this technology has launched over 80 products over the last few years for Fortune 500 companies. And as a testament to their skills in building this particular solution, we started URBAN-X a few months ago. We started with a goal. That goal was to build our MVP and install it in one building before today. I'm happy to tell you now we've installed in 4 buildings as we speak, and we will be installing in nearly 30,000 buildings by the end of 2020. This team has launched some of the most ubiquitous technologies that we are currently using today, including the iPad. We are Sapien Industries, and we have finally solved the plug load problem.
I'm Jordan Klein, CEO and co-founder of Park and Diamond, and we're creating a product that's potentially going to revolutionize people's lives and keep them safe when they're commuting. We're seeing tons and tons of these bicycle-related accidents, right, where people aren't wearing helmets, and a lot of the traditional entrants in the market aren't really addressing the key underlying pain points that prevent people from wearing a helmet. And it's something that we've gone out and actually tried to solve, where we're solving 3 major pain points: comfort, convenience, and aesthetics. We're really kind of the first ones to put all these 3 things together into a really stylish, collapsible, and super safe product. On average, there are over 85,000 traumatic brain injuries as a result of cycling crashes in the US alone. In New York City, for example, over 97% of the cycling-related fatalities occur when somebody's not wearing a helmet. People actually hate normal helmets so much, they just won't get on a bike. So what we're really interested in is the 92% of people who don't currently own a helmet or wear it regularly. These are people who really care about something that's comfortable, something that's aesthetically appealing, and something, most importantly, that they can take with them everywhere they go that doesn't intrude into their lifestyle. One of the really positive effects when people use alternative last mile transportation, such as biking or scootering to work, is they reduce the burden on other polluting sources of transportation. And it's something that actually takes up a lot less space, allows our cities to have more greenways, and just in general increases the quality of life in cities, which is super important to us.
Hey everyone, I'm Jordan Klein, CEO of Park and Diamond. And 3 years ago, my co-founder David and his family were struck by tragedy. His sister was riding through the intersection of Park and Diamond when she was a victim of a hit-and-run accident while riding her bicycle and not wearing a helmet. And she spent nearly 4 months in a coma as a result. We quickly learned that she was just one of 85,000 Americans that year to suffer a traumatic brain injury as a result of a cycling-related crash, which cost the healthcare industry over $10 billion with an untold cost to their friends, families, and loved ones. This problem is only getting larger. We're seeing a generational change in transportation systems away from cars and towards micromobility, and there currently is not a single viable safety solution for this growing market. So we built the first safety company for micromobility. And this all starts with the bicycle helmet, as nearly 92% of bicycle or scooter commuters do not wear a helmet while commuting every day, making the bicycle helmet the single most underutilized piece of safety technology available. Especially considering the fact that bicycle helmets reduce the likelihood of a traumatic brain injury by up to 87% and are nearly 100% effective at reducing fatalities. But the reality is that the traditional bike helmet was not built for this micromobility ecosystem that we're seeing grow rapidly. And after interviewing thousands of people, we found that the reason why helmet usage is so low is that it always comes down to the same three factors: comfort, aesthetics, and portability. And we can all remember pinching our chins as we put on a helmet. I don't think anybody in this room is going to make an argument for the fashion statement that a traditional helmet makes. And what are you going to do with this chunk of foam when you get where you're going? So we built the first helmet that combines safety with comfort, fashion, and portability. It's the most comfortable helmet you've ever worn and conforms perfectly to every head. It looks like a normal baseball hat as you ride by, and it's totally indistinguishable from normal headwear. And most importantly, it's super portable, meaning that it fits seamlessly into your day-to-day lives. And fundamentally, we're different down to our core material, which enables our helmet to dissipate more energy from impacts, reducing the momentum change experienced by the user and reducing the likelihood of a traumatic brain injury, which is really important to our team. Speaking of which, we're able to build, design, and test this first game-changing product thanks to our killer team, which includes former SpaceX engineers. Dave, my co-founder, and I were both Virginia Tech engineers at the time of his sister's crash, and we would be working in the automotive crash test safety industry if it were not for the experience that we had had. And Keith heads up our business development efforts. We're a direct-to-consumer technology-enabled athleisure brand, leveraging relationships with massive channel partners such as WeWork. And in our first 24 hours of the product being live, we did over $160,000 in revenue, thanks partly to the team at Indiegogo and see Marita in the back. And we are super excited about this. Over a third of our customers are buying more than one product, which means they're not just protecting themselves, but they're protecting loved ones. And I was just told before I got on stage that in the first 48 hours, we officially did over $250,000 in revenue, which is, thank you. We couldn't be more happy about it. So as you can see, we're on a really great start for our core mission of protecting over 1 million heads daily by 2020. And what you guys can do right now is join the over 2,500 people that have pre-ordered the product in the last 48 hours who love the portability and the aesthetics of the helmet. As you can see, it collapses down to this very small form factor that'll fit easily into any bag that you guys brought here today. I'm being told to show it off more. Cool. Awesome. Thanks so much.
I'm Carrie-Ann Nadeau, the founder and CEO of ODN. We're helping insurance carriers tap into billions of records of city administrative data to expand their distribution and grow sales. My background's in city planning, and so I knew that there was tremendous potential in city administrative data to help cities perform more effectively and more efficiently. What I didn't realize was that there were opportunities to leverage that city municipal data for commercial applications as well. 2.5 billion records of data every single year. That's 7 million records of data in the city of Chicago alone. This data is so hyper-specific, it's at the XY coordinate level. We know exactly where businesses are opening. We know exactly where businesses are failing their inspections or buildings themselves are failing building codes. Open Data Nation builds risk models. We use machine learning, all different types of algorithms. We're making our tools help directly apply that data to their most pressing problems. We work with the world's largest property and casualty insurance carriers. Instead of marginally adjusting the pricing of insurance with new data, we were able to see tremendous value by increasing sales, bringing in more business and more revenue for the insurance carriers.
Good morning. I'm Carrie-Ann Nadeau, the founder and chief executive officer of ODN, and we're helping insurance carriers better measure the world of risk around you. If you've ever been involved in a traffic crash, you know there are a lot of reasons that crashes happen. Let's be honest, they might in part be our fault, right? We might be speeding or texting on our phones. But there are a lot of reasons that are completely outside of your control. Maybe the weather is bad, or other drivers on the road, or even the road conditions themselves. Unfortunately, when an insurance carrier looks to price an auto policy for you, they pay attention a lot to your behaviors and who you are. They may look at your credit score or your debt. But what they do in doing that is miss the much bigger picture. What matters more is the world around you. But they lack a consolidated measure to assess that risk. That's where ODN comes in. We take billions of records of city administrative data about crash reports and road infrastructure and build a metric that insurance carriers use to better evaluate the risk of their current customers and their prospective customers as well. We help carriers know not only if you're a bad driver, but if the roads you're driving on are dangerous roads to be driving. Now, insurance carriers care about this data for a lot of reasons. They can use it to better market, to price their policies, to select risk, and to engage with their customers. There's also a bunch of adjacent industries that are also interested in a measure like this. These are all the industries that also use credit scores but lack this measure of risk exposure. They include financial institutions, investors, real estate, even corporate risk management. For now, ODN is focused on insurance and on helping those insurance carriers find and select the best risk for them. We've done a really phenomenal thing in an industry that is slow to move and really hasn't innovated since the FICO score in 1954. We convince people to pay us for our data. Our current customers include Zurich, as well as Travelers, and just as of this week, Hanover Insurance as well. What we're doing in a pilot with Travelers is connecting these risk exposure metrics about the road to their current customers that use telematics devices to track where they are, if they're speeding or hard braking, and better evaluate which customers they want. Helping them pick those customers increases their sales by 5%, lowers their cost to acquiring those customers by 17%, and over time will improve the profitability of their entire auto portfolio by 7 points. In the long term, the vision of Travelers is even beyond these short-term metrics of success. They're looking ahead to autonomous vehicles, when the behaviors of the drivers will no longer matter at all. How are we going to deal with that? Well, ODN's risk score might be one answer. Each year, $508 billion of auto premiums are written in the United States alone. About 70% of that have the geographic information already on the vehicle, so about $406 billion of premium that our approach works for. We're targeting the $60 billion of premium that comes into the market every year. These are the folks who are looking for an insurance policy. So it's a pretty big market for us to tackle. Our competitors have largely focused on finding that one golden goose data set that's going to completely transform the industry. They haven't found it yet. They're also not yet using predictive machine learning to address or identify the risks that matter most to the insurance industry. What sets us apart most is our experience using city administrative data. I'm an MIT-trained city planner, and I'm joined by a team of civil engineers and data scientists who not only worked with this data, but worked with the cities themselves. The city of Chicago, for example, is currently working to deploy the same risk model to prevent crashes and save lives as part of their Vision Zero initiative. We're ODN, and we're helping measure the world of risk around you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carrie-Ann. Folks, we just want to give it up for all of Cohort 4 today. I'm Mark Paris from URBAN-X. We're partners with Minnie in this journey, and with me are my other colleagues, and we want to thank Minnie and everybody else for putting this together. Let's talk about why you're here. You're all here for a reason. Influencers, media, these teams want to tell you their story, okay? Stakeholders, customers, they want to provide you their value proposition and partnership with you. And investors, well, you know what they want. But they're here to talk to you. They're going to be at the booths over there. I just want to, one last comment before we all get up and move over there. Teams, please make your way over there as we go. December 5th is our launch date for Cohort 5. So we really look forward to seeing you there. And once again, thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to talking to you. Take care now.